Good morning. Welcome to Sunday morning. Welcome to my new webcam. Hopefully you'll stay connected on all three platforms all the way through. Been having some technical issues with that the last few weeks. So apologies to anybody who got cut off in the middle on Facebook or YouTube last week. We're working on it. Greetings to the folks I can see on Zoom. Happy to see you. Greetings to the folks I cannot see on Facebook and YouTube. Glad you're here. Today, we are continuing our journey through the four foundations of mindfulness. Buddha taught that there are four areas to focus on to bring us greater mindfulness and awakening. And they are mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of thoughts, and mindfulness of mental constructs or ideas. And today we're going to be talking about mindfulness of feelings. But before we do that, I thought I'd share with you a quote that I came across from Sharon Salzberg, who's one of the founding teachers of the Insight Meditation Society in Massachusetts, that I think explains a lot of what we're doing here. She wrote, "The heart of skillful meditation is the ability to let go and begin again over and over. Even if you have to do that 1,000 times during a session, it does not matter. There is no distance to traverse in recollecting our attention. As soon as you realize we are lost in discursive thought or have lost touch with our chosen contemplation, right in that very moment, we can begin again. Nothing has been ruined. There is no such thing as failing. There is nowhere the attention can wander to, and no duration of distraction from which we cannot completely let go in a moment and begin again." So as you're practicing your meditation, it's easy to, people tell me they get discouraged because the mind keeps wandering, and the mind just does that. It's supposed to do that. The lungs breathe, the heart beats, the mind thinks. When you notice, patiently, lovingly, kindly, compassionately, just come back again and again as often as you need to. So let's meditate. I invite you to find a comfortable meditation posture. Start there. There are 3 meditation postures available for what we're doing: the sitting meditation posture, standing meditation posture, and laying down. Some people told me they need to lay down meditating because they have back issues or whatever. If you're going to do that, the suggestion is you rest your arm on the floor with your hand in the air, so your arm is like at a 90-degree angle. That way, if you fall asleep, your hand comes down, you'll wake up. So I invite you to find a meditation posture if you're sitting, where you're sitting up straight but not rigid, relaxed, just letting your back fall into its natural curve. We're sitting in such a way that we just have an open channel. Nothing is obstructed. And gently close your eyes. And I invite you to just notice the simplicity of sitting in this moment. Nothing is happening outside this moment. Whatever thoughts are floating around in your head are not happening outside your head or your body. Just the simplicity of sitting in the present moment where nothing is actually happening. And I invite you to take a few slow, long, deep breaths. And breathing in, noticing the sensations of the body breathing in, the chest expanding, the shoulders rising, the belly expanding. Slow, deep breath. And as you breathe out, just begin the process of relaxing and softening. You can start by relaxing the muscles around your eyes. Just letting your eyes rest back in their sockets. Another slow, deep breath in. And on the out breath, relax the muscles in your face. They do a lot of work. You might want to just let your lips part a little bit to relax your jaw muscles, and then bring them back together. And letting your breathing return to normal. And continuing on the exhale to relax and let go of whatever tension you find in your body to whatever degree you can. This is a gentleness practice. There's no way to do it wrong. The doing it is the doing it. Receiving the in-breath. And as you breathe out, relaxing your shoulders, your chest, and your belly. We hold a tight belly much of the time, but not now. Just breathing into your soft belly and letting your belly hang. Letting your body relax. And now bring your attention to the sensations of the body breathing. And let's just focus there and rest our attention on the breath. Some people do that by focusing on the sensations of the chest or the belly moving in and out. Some people do that by focusing on the sensations of the air moving in and out of your nose. Some focus on the overall global sensations of the body breathing. Whatever's easy, whatever feels easiest and works for you. And relaxing the thinking muscle, letting the mind settle to whatever degree it does. Thoughts may continue, but they're not important. We notice them, but we don't turn toward them or get drawn into them. Just focusing on the breath, on the sensations of the body, as the breath moves in and out. And when your mind wanders off into thought, which it will, because it does, you may notice right away, or some period may go by. It's all good. When you notice you're thinking, just gently slide your attention back to the breathing. Thoughts arise, feelings arise. It's all good. You notice feelings or emotion. If you can, notice the body experience, the bodily experience of your feeling, where they're located, what it feels. And just breathe with that. The in-breath and the out-breath come and go. Thoughts and feelings arise and fade, they come and go. And we bring our focus gently, firmly back to the breath. If you notice you wandered off in thought, that's okay. It's all good. Just come back and begin again with your focus on your breathing. Gently, firmly. It's like training a puppy to heel. We just pull it back gently, firmly, without recrimination or anger. Just beginning again and again. When you notice that you're thinking, just acknowledge thinking without getting drawn into the content of the thought stream of the moment. Whatever thoughts are arising, whatever's going on, isn't going on anywhere outside you. It's entirely an internal experience happening right in the now. Just notice thinking as a process. And come back to your breathing. And as we come towards the end of this sitting, I just invite you to notice the simplicity of sitting, breathing in and out. Whatever is passing through your mind is just passing through. Whatever feelings you're experiencing in your body, just coming and going. And may it be that the benefits of this practice enables us to move through the world with kindness and compassion, beginning with self-compassion, kindness towards ourselves that we can then radiate out into the world. To view the world through kind eyes. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. As usual, I put the usual information in the Zoom chat, and I will post it on the Facebook page and on YouTube since I've been asked to do that. Information on how to find these sessions week to week. We're here every Sunday. Information on how to get in touch with me, my website, my email address. And if you feel so inclined, how to make a donation, which is not actually requested or required, just if you feel like it. So today we're continuing our walk through the 4 foundations of mindfulness. There are 4 areas of focus to bring our attention to the present moment and foster our awakening and our relief from suffering. The 4 foundations of mindfulness are mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings and emotions, mindfulness of thought, and mindfulness of ideas and mental constructions. Last week, we talked about mindfulness of the body, which is a good jumping off point for discussing all the other 4 foundations, because our experience happens in the body. That's how we know we're having an experience. We feel something. And our emotions are a somatic experience. If you notice, if you're feeling sad, or if you're feeling happy, or if you're feeling whatever emotions are coming up, I invite you to notice where that is in your body. And you'll always notice, if you pay attention, that there's a specific location for a lot of these things. Sometimes it's a global tension. But if I'm sad, I feel it like right here, right in the throat, and sometimes in my stomach. If I'm feeling anxious, that's the whole stomach, torso experience. If I feel angry, it's like my shoulders get really tight. It's like they're trying to fold my body in half, like it's a defensive position. So feelings happen in the body, which is why we start with mindfulness in the body, and then we notice what that experience is. And feelings, like everything else, are impermanent. They come and go. And we live in a culture where we're taught to accept some feelings and not accept other feelings. That expression, you shouldn't feel that way, gets thrown around a lot, but it's kind of dangerous, because it leads to kind of self-negation, which perpetuates suffering and makes self-compassion that much more difficult. And the truth is, there are no good or bad feelings, they're just feelings. And feelings have 3 qualities: pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. That's it. We experience anger or sadness, we say, good. We discover joy or pleasure, we say, no, anger and sadness, we say, bad, we try to push that away. We experience joy or pleasure and we say, that's good, and we try to embrace it, hold it. But one of the things you'll notice about feelings, like all things else, they're impermanent. They just come and they go. The way you felt earlier today is different from how you're feeling now, is different from how you're going to feel later in the day. But often we fall into this trap of being ping-ponged back and forth between attachment and aversion. I want to keep that feeling. I don't want that one. I don't want to feel sad. When I was a therapist, people would always come with, I don't want to feel this way. And my approach was always, okay, well, let's just accept that we feel this way and be okay anyway. Because part of the art of mindfulness, and it's an art because an art is something you practice, is knowing that we're okay with whatever internal experience we're having. We're still okay. And that speaks to the first noble truth of the Buddha, who said life includes suffering. And the beauty of that is it kind of lets us off the hook in a way that we don't have to think something is wrong if we're not feeling good. Feelings just come and go. And in mindfulness, we can learn to just accept them with non-judgmental awareness, without attachment or aversion. without clinging, without rejection. Because feelings happen to us and they're part of who we are. And if we're clinging to our part of ourselves. And if we're rejecting part of ourselves. And it leads to the opposite of self-compassion. We start judging ourselves for certain feelings. I've been around the 12-step environment for a really long time. And I've heard a lot of people judge themselves harshly for being angry. But what if anger is just a feeling that comes and goes? Like sadness, like joy. We experience anger. We just breathe with it. We notice it in our bodies. And we mindfully just breathe with the experience of that. Feelings are not a call to action. They just come and go. So I was at a Zen sitting way back at the beginning of my experience with the Dharma. When I still had hair. This was black and big and bushy. And it was also the beginning of my recovery from addiction. And there was another guy in the group who I knew was having an extremely difficult time emotionally. And he asked the teacher, what do I do with these feelings? And the teacher gave the best answer I've ever heard to that question. He said, welcome them and be kind to them and treat them as honored guests. And eventually they will leave. Feelings just come and go. They're kind of wispy at the edges, like clouds, and then dense in the middle, and then wispy around the edges. Excuse me, got something going on right back here. It is what it is. So we can observe this mindfully. And observing this as a foundation of mindfulness, we observe not so much what feeling is it. Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it joy? Is it relief? Those are just labels we put on things. We notice the tone, the feeling tone. Is this feeling pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? What is the tone of our experience in the moment? Because feelings tell us what the tone is of our experience, not what our experience is. It's easy to go to anger and say, these things have to be different. Or it's easy to go to sad and say, that has to be different. Or it's easy to go to joy and say, everything has to stay like that. That's not helpful. What is the tone of your experience of the moment? And our feelings inform us of that. So you're sitting mindfully in meditation, and what comes to mind is something that might annoy you. For example, my refrigerator broke down 6 months after I bought it. It's sitting out there. It's a giant paperweight sitting in my kitchen. And I'm in this whole thing with the manufacturer and the dealer to try to get it fixed. And it's frustrating. And I feel frustrated and I feel angry sometimes. But that doesn't change the nature of the situation. But I can notice the tone of the situation. And when I can go there, I can notice and modulate my tone in the situation. When I'm dealing with the people involved with this, it's supposed to be fixed at the end of next week. It kind of is what it kind of is. And feelings are like that. They kind of are what they kind of are. They help us know that we're alive. There are no good or bad feelings. I keep emphasizing that over and over again. Feelings don't make karma. I can feel so angry that I want to go down to the dealer and like yell at somebody. That's fine as long as I don't actually do that. So part of mindfulness of feelings is the ability to separate our feelings from a call to action, because they're not a call to action. Now, this doesn't mean we are passive. Mindfulness is not a kind of passivity. We view injustice in the world or sadness in the world that can activate our compassion, that can activate our sense of action. Anger helps us motivate sometimes. Sadness helps us move towards healing sometimes. Joy makes us feel like spreading it around sometimes. One of my favorite writers is a guy named Victor Villaseñor. He's the only person who ever competed with Harper Lee for my favorite writer. And I heard him in an interview one time when they published his first book, which I believe is called Macho. It's great. You should read Victor Villaseñor. Start with Rain of Gold. They first published it as a trade paperback, which means you can say you're published, but it's on cheap paper with cheap printing and binding. And they throw it out there in the distribution channel with no promotion or marketing behind it. It sits on a shelf in the bookstore for 2 weeks, and when nobody buys it, the bookstore sell it back, but you can say you had a book published. He was not okay with that. It was his anger that gave him the energy to go and confront that and confront those people and say, no, this is not okay with me. It was his sense of compassion and acceptance of his experience that allowed him to go in there and still maintain his cool and his compassion and deal with it in a professional manner. So we can tap into our feelings for direction, but remembering that it's not the only source of direction. They're just energy coming and going. By the way, Macho won several awards, and he was, runner-up for the Pulitzer, and one of my favorite authors. He writes in Spanish and does his own translations into English, and he's just remarkable. So our feelings help to inform us of what our experience is, but they don't have to relieve us of our ability to make good choices. And I say that as an addict in recovery who has a long history of, I don't want to feel this way, so I'm going to do something maladaptive to make the feeling go away. And that may be the essence of my addiction. But I have learned to just sit in it, breathe through it, mindfully. Not all the time. I mean, this is a practice, comes and goes. Be okay with me, be okay with Ken and who I am and what I'm experiencing. Realize nothing bad is happening. I'm just having this experience of my emotions, which is a somatic experience, and then I slap a label on it. Now it's a feeling I can identify. And I'm still okay. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's not. It's just pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So, I invite you to be kind and gentle with yourself. I invite you to self-compassion. I invite you to recognize when you're having an emotional experience and remember that you are still okay in the moment, in the present moment, where nothing is actually happening. You're just having an emotional experience, and it's okay. It's how we know we're alive. So I invite you for today, if you have an unpleasant feeling, just notice that that's happening and say to yourself, I'm okay. I'm just having this feeling. And if you're having a really pleasant feeling, notice, oh, this is cool. And when it fades, I'm still okay, because feelings come and go. Thank you for your kind attention. Anybody have any questions or comments, or can go back to being a cab driver? I was a cab driver for a long time. So then I became a shrink. They're not that different.
Yeah, this was lovely today. Reminds me of a friend of mine says, I'm responsible for my behavior no matter how I feel.
Yeah, feelings come and go on their own, regardless of what happens. Actions and behaviors are choices. I can choose to call up, the guy at Whirlpool and yell at him about the refrigerator, but that's not going to get my refrigerator fixed any faster. So I felt like it. And I heard all that go through my head. I had a really great conversation with that guy nowhere except right here. But yeah, feelings are not a call to action. They feel like a call to action, but they're not. My behavior is what makes karma.
Yeah, great job, Ken. This is Andre.
Hi, Andre.
Hi, nice to see you. Well, yeah, I really liked the beginning when you said that, in other words, nothing is happening outside of us. I think that if I could not intellectualize that, right? Because intellectualization is like a very low form of getting it, right? But really get that, like get it as clear as this hand in front of me, right? Get it as clear as this hand in front of me that nothing is happening outside of me. That is so powerful, and that's such a hard concept to get. Because even being in 12-step, right? In other words, when we get newcomers, when we get sponsees or newcomers, there is things like, for example, me too. When I got my sponsor last year, I got financial problems. I'm in pain right now. I got insurance company doesn't want to give me the money. I have anxiety. I have financial fear. Those things are really, it's very hard to say that that's not happening outside, but the volcano is inside, right? And one thing that I heard, but again, I always go back to the default of being human, is that, the way meditation and this work is like I scuba dived a couple of times in my life. It doesn't matter what's going on top of the water. There could be a hurricane, but all the way down, it's always peaceful on the bottom of the ocean. So it's the same thing. If the shift would be into, rather than manage the upstairs, get first the inside to stabilize and right and get good, then the outside would take care of itself. And even in the big book, it says straighten out spiritually and morally, which I feel is a way to get the inside balance through meditation or whatever, and then the outside. But it's such a hard concept. So thank you for reminding me this morning. I really love this talk especially. But that is so profound, and I want to continue to be on this call, because I need to be reminded, because it's very easy for me to go, oh, my back hurts, that guy cut me off, or the insurance company. It's like, okay, Andrew, we need to go back in, because if we're just going to focus on the insurance company or your back problem, pretty much it's going to be miserable and then die. So let's get first serene and peaceful within, which I do that in the morning structure, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then the rest of the day, you would just deal with that. So I just want to say thank you. Great job. And I'm glad that you gave me the information to click on. And I will send it to other friends of mine because, I have other people in the community. I think everybody could benefits out of this kind of work. So thank you to the contribution, and I'll pass.
Thanks, Andre. You mentioned it starts, we start when we get this intellectually. We start where we are, right? If I don't understand it intellectually, I might reject it, which is a shortcoming probably. But that's where it starts. It starts with me understanding it cognitively so that I can embrace it. And I had a very profound experience in my meditation yesterday. I mean, my meditation kind of like goes long. But yesterday, I really, really got at a very deep level that my entire experience of the moment was internal and nothing was actually happening. And it was really, really peaceful. And you also mentioned sitting at the bottom of the ocean is calm. One of my favorite writers on this subject, I was really lucky when I was a counselor at the hospice in California. My supervisor wrote a book about this. And one day she goes, "Oh, my book came out like it's nothing," right? It turned out to be one of my favorite books. And I've read it here out loud here in these sessions. And the way she describes it is there's a lot of churn on top of the ocean. Her mind is like the ocean. There's a lot of churn and there's waves and there's boats going by and all this stuff going on. But she's sitting on the bottom peacefully and all that stuff's happening up here. It's not happening there. Right? So we go in and out of that. I think that's a great metaphor. So.
Yeah, I really appreciated that as well, Andre. And Ken, like that line you said earlier about it's all happening inside us, that stuck with me as well. So I really like scuba diving. I haven't been able to go for a while because of COVID, but and what do I love about scuba diving? It's exactly what you were saying. It's that feeling of being at the bottom of the ocean and just floating there. And I never felt more serene and peaceful than when I was just floating at the bottom of the ocean and just observing the fish and not thinking, just watching. And I didn't think I could experience that outside of scuba diving, but when I meditate, I get that same feeling too sometimes. So I realize it really is internal. But I notice when I'm anxious about what's happening in the outside world. I'm thinking about work, and I try not to, but I can't help it sometimes, right? I feel that in my body, like you were saying. And I've noticed what I feel is like my stomach, my digestive system gets all messed up. I feel like I'm gonna vomit. I feel like I'm, it's really, it's very messed up when I'm anxious. And I said, this only makes things worse. It's not helping anything. So, I try to think of different solutions, but sometimes I can't think of a solution, or the solution may end up being even worse than the original problem. So it's hard. It's very hard because you want to come up with a solution, but at the same time, I think when you stop trying to think of a solution, that it will finally come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you learn these things the hard way, but I just want to think I really appreciated today as well. Thank you.
Thanks. What if the solution, if there is one, is just to accept that this is your experience at the moment? There's nothing wrong, nothing bad is happening. There's stuff swirling around in the outside world, but you're sitting on the floor in front of your bed and none of it's actually happening now. Right? But you're having this experience. That's okay. We all have these sorts of things. Don't judge yourself. And I had a long conversation with another Dharma teacher yesterday about the tendency to want things to be other than they are. And then using that to be hard on ourselves for the way we are, right? And it gets kind of circular. So you work in a difficult situation. I've heard you talk about that before. Sometimes it's a little crazy making. Sometimes they remind us why we wouldn't do this if they weren't paying us. It's okay to have that whole experience. It's okay to be with that whole experience. And the more we say, I have to make this stop, I have to solve this, I have to make this go away, the longer it takes, because that's just another layer of suffering on top of it. So I invite you to just breathe into it. I'm having anxiety about work right now, but I'm actually sitting here at home and nothing is happening. And I can't do anything about it anyway. But I'm just having this experience, and it's okay. I'm having this experience. In Laura Cannon's group, I think you heard me talk about Herbert. I named that part of my mind. I named it Herbert. It's a reference to Star Trek. If you go to YouTube and look up Star Trek and Herbert, you'll see Spock talking about Herbert. I was in North Carolina. I photographed lighthouses. And if you're a lighthouse person, the Outer Banks of North Carolina is like Mecca. There's these 5 famous lighthouses. We went out there to photograph the lighthouse. And I'm sitting at this essentially deserted beach. Florida is great, but nobody has anything on the beaches of North and South Carolina. I'm sitting on this deserted beach. It is absolutely peaceful. Nobody's around. And I'm hearing this angry thing in my head about something completely unrelated to the basic placidness of where I'm sitting now. And that's when I named it Herbert. I said, oh, Herbert's angry today. Because it wasn't reflective of my experience at the moment. I was sitting on a deserted beach and it was like stunningly beautiful. I was lucky to be there. So you may or may not want to call it Herbert, but you can recognize it as like a different mechanism outside of your present experience, outside of what's happening to you now. That was a really profound moment for me when I recognized, oh, that's a completely separate thing from my actual experience. So work is hard. Jobs are hard. People are difficult to deal with sometimes. They don't make sense sometimes. Give up on it making sense. That made my life easier. It's okay to have whatever experience you're having with that. And when we accept that, the feelings just come and go on their own. So we're just after 9:00. It's good to see y'all, as they say down here in the South. And see you next Sunday.